power of Castle Hate Skull, I am hella more Corley. The lightning bolt comes down. Oh my God, he's transforming. When you see me on the street, it's Prince Mark. When you see me in the studio, when you see me on Instagram, it's hella Mark Harley. Don't get it twisted. What's up? I'm back. It's your boy, episode 4, coming in hot because all you guys smashed that subscribe button, left a like, left a comment, told me how amazing you think this podcast was. You said, oh my God, it was the best podcast of September 2021 as voted on by Podcast Magazine. We're in the running for October as well. Please, go vote every day. There's no limit on how many times you could vote on bestpodcastmonthly.com. So go there right now before you even watch the episode. Throw in a vote, throw in 10. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Man, we have another absolute banger of an episode today. We're going to be doing a bunch of segments. Who knows? I'm going to keep it a surprise. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to feel like doing 5 minutes from now, let alone the next beat of this show. I did, however, have some votes. You guys chimed in. You guys said, Mark, the opening of the show was great last time. The way you were flexing and showing off your muscles from different angles. It was so cool, but we want to see you with the shirt off. And I said, guys, I'm not really comfortable taking my shirt off all the time, but if that's what you want to see, if that's what you want to see, okay, I guess I could do it, okay? You really think I wouldn't show off this fucking back? Huh? You really think I wouldn't hit you with the lat spread? Is that even, can you just back up a little bit? I feel like is the camera angle wide enough to get in all that mass? To get, I'm not even flexing. I'm not even flexing that hard. You're flexing. Stop projecting onto me. That's psychological projection and you know it. Yes, I'm Sigmund Freud. Oh. That's just a little taste, okay? If you guys like that, leave a comment. Say, Mark, that was the most amazing post on we've ever seen. Could you do it again next week? Maybe let's take off the pants this time. I don't know. I mean, this is a PG-13 podcast. I don't know what I can do, but I'm going to check in with network, okay? I'm going to talk to my executive producers and the people who run this whole organization and see if I'm allowed to show my dingling on camera. Maybe they'll just have to bleep it out. I don't know, okay? Let's start the show. Okay, now that I've had a chance to catch my breath, put my shirt back on, calm down just a little bit, not totally. I want to be right in that sweet spot of kind of excited, kind of just cool, like kind of relaxed, like chill, like, hey, does it even bother me? It's whatever, like keep talking, all this chatter online. I don't give a shit about it. Here I am right now giving you the business. It's time for another Sup Fool, where I tell you guys, sup, fool, what's going on with my life. So, had a couple things I wanted to talk to you about. I'm not much of a drinker, but I have occasionally drunk alcohol in my life. It's just, I don't have a problem with it. Sure, I got a problem with lots of things. Alcohol just isn't one of them. However, when it comes to fitness, a recurring theme that I'll hear people talk about is, I'm doing everything right. I'm eating this and working out like that. Sounds great. And they leave out the part where, maybe they're drinking every single night. One of the things I've found is that drinking is something that people kind of put in a different category than maybe other aspects of their nutrition. So this can be a huge factor in whether or not you're hitting your fitness goals because just calories alone, okay? We're not even talking about, the effect that it can have on your sleep, which alcohol does affect REM sleep, just like many substances, any stimulants, any marijuana, THC, anything you're putting in your body, probably, if it's psychoactive in any way, probably has an effect on your sleep. Alcohol does that. Alcohol affects many cells in your body, but we're not going to be talking about that specifically. We're just going to talk about it calorically, right? If you're trying to lose weight and you're consuming alcohol, multiple drinks on a daily basis, that alone could be the thing that puts you out of a caloric deficit and essentially negates all your goals. So I was talking with a client this week who, he's functioning. It wasn't interfering with his life, but he was drinking a lot.
He was getting after it, working out really hard and seeing results as far as strength, but he was still not seeing the kind of weight loss that he really wanted. And so I broke it down for him, that, a shot of whiskey can be this many, I think it's 100 off the top of my head. In order to lose a pound of fat, for example, in theory, you're needing to burn off 3,500 calories because that's how many calories are in a pound of fat. So in a week, for example, if you created a 500 calorie deficit, either from diet alone or exercise alone, or a combination of the two, if you ate 250 less calories and burned 250 more calories per day compared to the stasis that your body was in, if you were maintaining your weight for months and months, and then you made this little adjustment, in theory, you could lose a pound a week by creating an additional deficit of 500 calories. But you could be doing all that right, exercising more, eating less. But if you're having 5 drinks a night, then that's going to completely negate that. I challenged my client to calculate how many calories he was consuming from alcohol on a weekly basis. And often if you do have a substance issue, dependency, or just any sort of abuse, even mild abuse, you're not necessarily tracking that. And I think that's part of it psychologically, is you want to, compartmentalize it and make it seem like, I'm not drinking that much, I'm just having a few drinks, and not really do the math of how it's adding up. Well, turns out he did his homework and came back to me and said, I was consuming 11,000 calories a week just in alcohol. And I wasn't thinking about it until I, threw one of my bottles away and it hit 2 other bottles, and I realized, holy shit, I'm drinking a lot more than I realized. 11,000 calories, if we do that math, right, is the caloric equivalent of that 3 pounds of fat in a week. So you could be on pace to lose 3 pounds a week from where you're at now, and completely negate that with drinking in this case. I know not everybody's going to drink that much, but some people might be drinking more. So it's something I've seen time and again with people, where you can be doing everything right as far as your workouts, as far as your diet, but still be gaining weight or just negating what you would already lose. So if you're somebody who is interested in losing weight and is still drinking heavily or multiple times a week, I would encourage you to not even just jump straight into like, I need to stop right away. But the first step is admitting you have a problem. The first step is hitting the calculator and saying, how many calories am I giving up to alcohol that I could eat with food or whatever? Because again, if you're eating 11,000 calories in donuts a week, you're probably aware of that and probably have some sense of like, I shouldn't be eating, these 20 donuts a week or whatever that is. But for some reason, when it comes to alcohol, we kind of treat it as a different thing. But when it comes to your weight loss and fitness goals, your body doesn't give a shit. So confront the reality of how much you're drinking. Boom. There. Did I solve alcoholism worldwide? I think I did it. I think I did it, guys. Oh my God. Oh, I'm doing a service for the world, I think. And that's the important thing to me. It's not about the flexing or the looking cool or having this amazing hair. It's about more than that. It's about changing the world. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, that I want to hear about you guys, because sometimes I have these issues in the gym and I'm like, maybe I'm the dick. Maybe I'm not. Maybe the other guy's a dick. But I'll let you guys tell me. You can comment and see whose side you're on. Are you side me or side this other guy that I'm about to tell you about? So I do this thing in the gym where when people say, like, if you're in the gym and there's like a 10-pound plate on a rack or something like that, like, there's weight trees everywhere, at every machine, at every bench station, there's 45s and 10s and 25s and 5s. Obviously, I'm never going to take a weight off of a bar that somebody is using, but I've gotten the habit of just like, if I see a 25 and nobody's using it, I'm going to grab it. I'm not going to go like, oh, excuse me, are you using this 20? Because they're not using it, right? If it's not on the bar or on the machine that you're using, this is a public gym. This is all shared community property. It's everybody's weights. A few times it's happened where I go up to grab a weight and somebody goes, I'm using that. And now, cool, maybe you were about to use it. That's awesome. I'm not going to like, if you say that, I'm not going to then still take it like, no, it's mine. But I found that I can sort of let it off my chest, this little annoyance, by going, but you're not using it. And then I walk away because you're not using it. If it's not on the bar that you're not using the weight. And we're in a gym where we all pay the same amount of money. So I went up to go grab a 45. I'm on the incline bench, working out with somebody, and behind me was a flat bench. Now I'm actually doing incline bench on the incline bench like God intended. Behind me, there's a guy who's doing curls on the flat bench station. And he had 75 pounds in there, the bar, a 10 and a 5. I saw that there wasn't any 45s at my incline station. I turn around and grab a 45-pound plate, or go to grab a 45-pound plate. And he goes, I'm using that. And I say, oh, but you're not using it. And then I turn around and he goes, this is like the third time you've done that. Well, I don't know why you have to always come up to me. And he's ranting at me like, oh my God, this is some issue. I guess I had maybe said that to him once before, but it was just once, not twice, not 3 times, whatever. And again, I was about to turn around. I let him rant at me and kind of like excoriate me for, being somebody who pointed out that he isn't using a 45-pound plate on his bar currently to do curls in the bench rack. I let him finish. And then I went into my point, or at least I tried to, in which I would explain to him that unless you are currently using that weight, it's public property. We all pay the same amount of money. You're not using it right now. 45-pound plates are not like the 2.5-pound plates, and maybe there's only 2 of them in the whole gym. And I totally understand if, I wanted to put on exactly 190 pounds, and that's going to require the 2.5-pound plates. It's not that. There are 30, 45-pound plates that I can see right now in front of me, and you just called that yours. Number one, it's not yours. You don't own it. You didn't bring it to the gym. You're not using it right now. The 45-pound plates are abundant. And the same logic, if I extended that, would apply to any machine I intended to use going into the gym, right? When I walk in and go, I'm going to use that leg press in 20 minutes. You can't go on it right now. Or, I'm using 20-pound dumbbells, but I may use the hundreds at the end of my workout. Those are mine. I take issue with the language. I take issue with the lack of, sharing mentality, because we're all in this together. If anybody came up to me on a machine and says, how many sets you got? I used to kind of be a dick and say, I have 100 left. Now I go, you want to work in? That's my first response. I would never deny somebody working in, because this is not my equipment. It's not my machine. So anyway, that's what I tried to get out. He interrupted me multiple times, wouldn't let me finish, kept saying, it doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Wouldn't let me get out a point. It was just very rude. I think he was obviously hyped up and felt like I was attacking him, but I was just trying to get across this point that, look, I'm not going to take your weight, but the point I'm making is this isn't yours. It's not mine. We're all here together. And shit like this doesn't seem to happen at like Zoo Culture, for example, a more serious gym where I get along with everybody and everybody gets along with each other. But at these weird commercial gyms, it's like, I don't know, people, while accusing me of having bad gym etiquette, my take on him is maybe you got bad gym etiquette. Maybe you're the one who needs to learn how to lift. But I don't know, maybe I'm the dick. Maybe I'm in the wrong. Please chime in. I will accept all opinions. If this has ever happened to you, you can tell me about it and tell me, actually, Mark, you're the biggest dick in the gym. And I'm going to say, no, I have the biggest dick in the gym. Booyah! Shit! Don't haters fall. What's up now? Ooh! West Side. Next up, we have another, this is why we can't have nice gyms, because what I'm about to show you is the main reason that we can't have nice gyms, okay? And it's people doing partial reps. We're going to take a little look at a video compilation of people doing the most ridiculous short reps. Usually it happens with stuff like bench press, with squats, with leg press, or people are doing these tiny little repetitions. And I'm going to put a caveat here that, there is a place for partial reps in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. But the reason that it comes off as so silly in all of these cases is because you're never seeing like a super buff or in shape guy do it. You're always seeing somebody who's doesn't really have enviable results. You're looking at somebody who doesn't have a great physique, who isn't that strong, who's using an amount of weight that is too much for them to handle. And it seems as though they're convincing themselves that they're repping with 315 on the bench, when in reality, they're only moving at a few inches, right? They're convincing themselves that they're squatting with 6 plates, and really they're barely bending their knees. I've been in a position before where people will come up to me at the gym, and this is one of the most annoying things. I hate when people come up to me and like co-opt me into their workout. Like I remember I was at Gold's in Hollywood one time, and this guy's like, "Hey, could you help me put these 120s on?" And it's like the guy's like 6 foot tall, 130, like super skinny. And I'm like, "What do you do? What move could you possibly be doing with these 120-pound dumbbells that you can't even on your own lift up to your shoulders?" Now, I didn't feel like being that big of a dick where like, I'm not going to help you. So I'm like, sure, I'll lift that. Cause and then part of me is like, I want to see what you're doing too. So I help him lift the 120s to his shoulder. And I'm not going to stand up to do this, but the range of motion was like this. Like if you were maybe 20 feet away, I don't know if you could even seen him moving it. So he was doing like a knee bend, a slight knee bend. And in his mind, I guess he's squatting. I don't know. And you want to ask that person, like, what do you think you're doing? Where did you pick this up from? Where did you learn to do that? Or at what point did you become convinced that this was going to lead to some sort of result as far as hypertrophy or conditioning? The other day I was at zoo and this kid didn't just get me, he got me and Brendan. He said, "Hey, could I get you guys to spot me?" We walk over to a bar loaded with 315. And I'm like, "Oh, maybe he's doing squats." In which case it's like, I don't use a spotter when I do squats, or I don't need one, because if you learn how to dump the weight correctly, you actually don't really need it. I get it. It can be dangerous, but that's my preference, or I'll set some pins. I just think you don't necessarily need a squatter, and if you're able to handle 315, like there's many ways in which you could be working out alone and squat very safely. This guy had me go on one side, Brendan go on the other. And the exercise he was doing was to unrack the weight, take a step back, and stand on one leg. And I think he called it something, that sounds impressive, like one leg isometric hold, whatever it is. But it's like, you're doing nothing, right? If you want to strengthen your leg, do a one leg squat or a lunge or any, isolation exercise, one leg at a time, right? But balancing on one leg is pointless. Use a lower weight, go through a full range of motion, and you actually still get that balance work in more difficult parts of the range of motion. But to really stress your body to the point that it's going to do anything, I mean, it would just take a much more weight actually, to really create something. And again, athletically, like, does that have any carryover if you're just standing straight with one leg? Like, there's no bend in your knee even. So that type of stuff just annoys me, because it's like you're coming to the gym doing something stupid and then co-opting other people into it. But oftentimes we're looking at this video and we're seeing people, the 3-inch bench press here. This guy should be working out with 135, right? Why doesn't he take weight off the bar? This guy's got 4 plates on the squat. Let's see. Let's guess what his range of motion is just by the muscle mass that he has, right? That's like an 1/8 squat, right? Not even a quarter squat. What does he think he's doing? And of course, the telltale signs of gym fuckery, the gloves on while squatting. What are you doing, sir? How did you learn that? This guy, oh my God, he's doing even less than that, right? And he's flipping his elbows around like, bok, 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 bok. And then people make stuff up. Like, what is this? I don't even know what this is. And you'll see this a lot. I saw this the other day. This guy came up to me and he was like, he wanted to start a conversation all about like the bodybuilders he knows, but then he's working out like that. I want to investigate in these people's heads and go, how did you pick up this strategy, right? Has this ever yielded a result? Are you working through a progressive overload? And of course, the classic leg press. This guy's got like 10 plates on. Let's just take a go. And he's got like the knee wraps on. Oof, that hurts my legs just looking at it, because he has to do the explosive hyper extension of his knees for each rep. I mean, that's a fucking accident waiting to happen. He's just got way too much in the bar, doing no range of motion. It sucks. Now, I'm going to say this. When I was growing up training, when I was like 17, I actually did a whole training block that involved just partial reps. You can look up this book. It's called Power Factor Training. And it was like these 2 bodybuilders who looked very impressive, had a lot of muscle, obviously, and wrote this whole book that appealed to me because it was very scientific sounding. Now, in retrospect, I don't think the science fully plays out, but they were like, you can tax the muscle by doing these partial controlled reps. in specific ranges of motion, but you would they'd have you set up like pins and do like, the heaviest weight you can do for like 20 reps through a shorter range of motion. And then you calculate it at the end. There's some advanced formula that they have where you'd like calculate your power output. But the idea was you're doing like partial lat pull downs, partial bench, partial leg press, but you're actually advancing through weight and through total workout volume. And so, funny enough, it actually did work. I actually put on muscle and combined it a little bit with the full range of motion stuff that I was doing. And I got results in some lifts, but like a full range squat, doesn't help that. Actually led to, I got some injuries that season in football that I think had I been doing a full range of motion, it probably wouldn't have happened. But I remember there was a guy who came up to me, like this trainer, and I'm 17 and I'm like, 220. It's not like I looked like I didn't know what I was doing and had been training in a more systematic full range of motion manner before that. This guy who was like clearly juiced out of his head and in a gym in San Rafael acting like that entitled him to kind of walk around the place like he owned the bitch. He came up to me and tried to correct me. And he's like, you guys really should take half the weight off and, go through a full range of motion. That really pissed me off. And I didn't snap at him or anything, but I like, tried to explain like, oh, it's actually, we're doing this book, this program. And he was just completely dismissive of that. Like, oh, well, that's so stupid, obviously. But, it was something that we were looking into. In retrospect, of course, I look at that and go, maybe I would do the same thing. But I try not to go up to these people and correct anybody. If I see them in the gym, I'm not going to correct your form or tell you that you should go through a full range of motion because obviously, and I'm one of those people in this story, I didn't want to hear it at the time. I do think you do have to kind of come to that conclusion on your own and nobody can take you through that. But I do remember him going up to, like, I walked past him. He didn't realize I was there and he was talking to a client and he was like, they were both like laughing about it. Like, I didn't know whether to laugh at him or try to correct him or, and it always stuck in my craw as something like, that this guy wasn't curious about what we're doing. He just wanted to correct. And so that's why I always, have this approach of curiosity. Like, what made you do this? Maybe there is a reason. Maybe you're training something specifically. Maybe you want to get really strong in that last few inches of the bench press. Or maybe you just don't know what the fuck you're doing. And because of that, because people 99% of the time, so this guy was, in a lot of ways, right to assume that I just had no idea what I was doing, even though I was convinced that, I had some revolutionary program that I was tapping into. Most of the time, when you're doing partial reps like that, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. So in today's age of YouTube and fitness everywhere on social media, there's just no excuse to not train properly. And that's why when you see people doing partial reps for no reason in the gym, that's why we can't have nice gyms. Okay, a lot of people have been asking me, Mark, is it possible to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time? There are some people out there who will say this is impossible. It simply can't be done because you can't gain muscle unless you're in a caloric surplus, and you can't lose fat unless you're in a caloric deficit. And look, I'm not going to go into the weeds on the science of that debate because I don't know enough about the weeds of the science of that debate. What I do know is there are many advocates of body recomposition who are people I trust, Jeff Nippard, Mike Israetel, Greg Doucette. These are all people who I follow online and they're advocates of this being possible. The caveat is it's not the most efficient way to gain muscle or lose fat. If you really want to lose fat, going into a steep deficit will get you there really quick. If you want to gain the max amount of muscle, going into a significant surplus without going crazy, you don't need a dirty bulk and need an extra 2,000 calories a day, but you can probably gain a significant amount of muscle with an additional 500 calories a day. Roughly speaking, you'll have to experiment for yourself, but I know it's possible to gain strength and therefore muscle mass and lose fat at the same time because I've been there, right? I've done it during different times in my life. Naturally, obviously, it's going to be easier if you're enhanced in some way, but there's going to be some conditions that probably help that out. If you're detrained, like the first time I did this in my 20s after I played football, and I was like, I want to lose weight, but still, train to gain strength, and I was able to do that effectively. I hadn't been training for a few months before that, right? So if you're detrained and then you hop into it, absolutely. Or if you've never trained before, you're a newbie, that's going to be the best time to do those when your body's going to be most responsive to the resistance training. When you're super advanced, it's like it's going to be difficult to gain muscle even in a caloric surplus. So doing that, when you're 10 years deep of consistent training and probably maxed out 95% of your gains anyway, it's going to be hard to consistently put on muscle while losing fat. But if that's something you're interested in, a good rule of thumb to start with is eating half your calories from protein while being in a caloric deficit, right? So for example, when I want to lose fat, I might eat 2,500 calories a day. That's a little bit on the low end. I could probably get away with it like 3,000 calories for my size. I'm over 240 pounds. If I'm eating 2,500, that's definitely putting me in a deficit. But if half those calories are coming from protein every day, so that's about 1,250 calories, divide that by 4 because each gram of protein has 4 calories. So we're looking at a little over 300 grams of protein a day. It's a lot, right? But I know if I do that, that's going to cause my body to spare my own muscle. If you don't have enough protein when you're in a deficit, your body's going to eat away at your own muscle to get protein muscle. It's going to use your body's own protein, right? Which is the muscle that is on your body, your skeletal muscle. So that's why in a deficit, you actually want to jack that percentage up. You don't need to eat 50% of your calories from protein if you're in a surplus. You actually, maybe 30, 35. If you put yourself in any sort of deficit and you want to hold on to that muscle or gain muscle to recompose your body and have more muscle, less fat, you're going to have to jack the protein up. So take the calories that would put you in a deficit, right? Split that in half, calculate how many grams of protein you need, and then the rest almost doesn't matter, right? If you're eating 50% of your calories from protein, you could split it 25 and 25 between carbs and fats. You could do 90% of that remainder with fats or carbs. Your body doesn't really care that much. Now, you'll have a different response to each one. As an individual, you may prefer slightly more carbohydrates to fuel more high intensity workouts, or maybe you want to feel fuller at each meal, and that's more important to you. And maybe you're doing more low intensity cardio to drop that fat. So you want more fats to feel fuller, and the carbs fueling the high intensity exercise aren't important to you. But if you use that starting point, that basic rule, you can probably put on some muscle while losing fat. You just got to use that basic principle and get the protein in. That's the most difficult part, and everything else will fall in place. Boom. Okay, so we got another Saucy or Not this week. I had a submission from somebody sending in a guy named Zach Rule. His Instagram is Pitbull Rule. So I guess this guy thinks he's a pit bull or something. Cool, bro. I'm looking through his Instagram page. He has some great upper body development. I'm not going to lie. Look at he's benching 4 plates with ease. See him throwing some medicine balls. He's got fantastic pecs, shoulders, gigantic biceps, big, beefy abs that are really sticking out and prominent. The only thing that seems to be lacking is he just doesn't really have any leg development. I feel like there's just no quads there, no calves whatsoever. It's hard to see, but I feel like his glutes aren't really developed either. Shitty hamstrings. And this is like the classic thing where it's like, cool, you have a really strong upper body, but like, are you skipping leg day every week or what's going on there? And that's kind of one of these telltale signs that people start juicing and they're like, oh, I want to get this massive upper body, but it doesn't like fix the problem, which is you're not motivated to train, right? You don't like doing legs. Well, taking steroids isn't going to fix that. So this guy to me falls in that classic category of a guy who is saucy and he wants to build up that upper body, but he just doesn't have the motivation or ability to train his legs at all. So, all upper body, no legs. Sorry, Pitbull Rule. You're saucy as fuck. Hit leg day and maybe come back to me, okay? All right, we got a new segment this week called Help! I'm on Steroids! Which is where I help people who are on steroids and don't know what the fuck they're doing, which is disturbingly common in the fitness world. People will reach out to me and be like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm like, why? Or how much are you taking? And they're like, I don't know. So this guy reached out to me. He actually was commenting first. And I try to be like, when I sense that people are in an emergency, if you're in a mental health crisis or something like that, I will get on the phone with you. I've talked to people who are like legitimately like, I'm depressed and I can't get out of bed, or I can't get that first step forward going. It's like, I will take the time to call you. Now, until the point where people actually abuse that privilege, I'm going to keep doing that. Being on steroids and not knowing what you're doing is a form of a medical emergency to me, because I feel obligated to correct that person and make sure they're not really causing themselves harm. So this person reached out to me and told me that they were on testosterone and trenbolone. And I said, how much are you taking each week? Because again, it's like saying like, I drink. Okay, well, there's a difference between taking a shot every week on Saturday before you go out to party and having, 23 beers a night, or else you're going to get the shakes because you're an alcoholic, right? The world of difference between those two people is the same as saying I take, 150 milligrams of testosterone each week as part of a TRT protocol versus somebody who's abusing steroids in such a dangerous fashion that, or maybe diuretics too, and potentially using insulin without knowing what they're doing. There are scenarios in which it borders on abuse and sort of negligence of proper protocols that you could be in danger. I'm not saying this guy was, but when somebody doesn't know the doses that they're taking, it's a huge red flag for me. So he ends up telling me, that I believe he's taking 150 milligrams of trenbolone every other day. So sometimes it'd be 3 shots a week, sometimes it'd be 4. It equals out to, I think I calculated 525 milligrams. That is too much. If you've never taken trenbolone before, a little bit of background, you can look this up, but it's sort of become a meme, like trend this, trends that. The Gains meme page makes a lot of trenbolone jokes, and there's a joke like trend hard, eat clen, Anavar, give up. I think people have sort of been desensitized to the power of a compound like trenbolone because of the memes that have been made about it. In reality, it's the most powerful injectable anabolic steroid with some of the most potent side effects, right? So it's like something on the order of 6 times more powerful than testosterone, milligram for milligram. So if you're taking 100 milligrams a week, that'd be like 600 milligrams of testosterone as far as the androgenic and anabolic potency of that drug. 600 milligrams of testosterone is a high dose, but people, when you hear like, oh, it's only 100 milligrams of tren, well, it's still as powerful as this, advanced dose of testosterone, and it has unique side effects as well. You can get night sweats. This is kind of like the classic, and that's just one of the more mild ones. It'll fuck with your sleep, which can, I think, in turn add to some other elements of this drug, which, include, for example, paranoia. You'll hear a lot of people who abuse trenbolone talking about how they come up with fantasies in their head, like, that the girlfriend's cheating on them, and there's no actual evidence of that. It's like a classic roid rage steroid. When people think about roid rage, that's not an equal phenomenon amongst individuals or compounds, because you can take many anabolic compounds that have a super low androgenicity that you'll never feel any sort of difference, or maybe there is a difference, but it's so low as to be undetectable even at high doses of, say, Anavar, right? A steroid that females use. But trenbolone is a sort of classic compound that's known for inducing actual roid rage. So as much as roid rage is a myth for some compounds, or totally depends on the individual, trenbolone is something that can take a person with a pretty even temperament and make them highly agitated, get them angry in traffic, or make them a violent person when normally that's not part of their character. So I got on the phone with this guy and basically said, look, you do not need to be running 525 milligrams of tren a week on top of the 250 milligrams of testosterone, which is a more normal dose. But this is an advanced compound. I would say, unless you're doing a bodybuilding show, because this is a sort of cosmetic drug that people want to get lean, hard, and full while looking dry, So it does have this effect that can get you looking cosmetically, very dramatic changes in a short period of time. But there are other compounds that can do a similar thing with much less side effects. And I pointed him towards Primobolan, which is methanolone enanthate, or a Masteron, which is drostanolone propionate or drostanolone enanthate. These are two DHT derivatives, which have an effect that gives you a nice cosmetic effect if that's what you're going for. It makes you sort of appear drier, appear leaner, appear a little bit harder, but without all the side effects, milligram for milligram. I would say those are the beginner drugs. If you're looking for that effect, do not jump to Trenbolone. You could go through your whole life with never doing it and be totally fine. But people have this idea that that's like the first thing they should go to. Don't do that. And also, if you don't know the doses that you're taking immediately, if you can't just recall it, if you have to go check the bottle or ask your friend, you haven't done the proper research to even begin a cycle, right? And if you can't tell me what the side effects are or why you're taking 525 milligrams a week versus say 100, which would be a true beginner dose of Trenbolone, you shouldn't be taking Trenbolone. So remember, if you don't know what you're putting in your body, you shouldn't be putting it in your body. So if you're on steroids and don't know what you're doing, please hit me up and I'll help you. So happy today to have David Lucas in the studio.
I'm out here.
For our new segment called Be a Better Hater. How to be a better hater. I'll give a brief intro to how I know you. I heard you on the Kill Tony show before I ever met you, right? And immediately I'm like your stand-up is great. You do these minute of stand-ups and that's where they have you back, and you're amazing at stand-up, and I've seen you live a bunch of times. But you and Tony would go back and forth with roasting each other. And I just have such an appreciation for that art, especially because it's like you're coming from a place when you do it, you're not upset or angry. This is just like a language you speak. I think you can look at anybody and just come up, not just with a good diss, but like you're super original. Right.
It's my love language, roasting.
That is your love language. Yeah. So
that's my love language.
Is originality important to you? Like, is that something you think about when you look at somebody to roast them?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think to also like when you're roasting, if you're a great roaster, it's kind of like you're painting a picture.
Yeah.
So it's like that's why I don't really like the traditional like roast battles where like you got to know somebody's history.
Right. Because you can look at anybody. Like the one you hit me with that I always remember, because people hit me with the same things over and over again. And you told me I look like a muscular bobcat. And I was like, it's like a poem. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's accurate because you're like, people will say like, you look like an old lion or so. And it's like, you'll say that 30 times. I think you kind of know intuitively, you're like, Mark has probably heard this been said about him. And I'm going to hit him with, nobody's ever said bobcat before. And muscular bobcat just, it just caps it off, right?
Yeah. Mine is either I'm going to paint a picture about you and make people believe it. Bro, I've called Tony Hinchcliffe gay so much on the podcast that people think he's gay.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like,
but you do make it fresh each time, right? You're not just saying like, and that's why you're gay and you suck dick. Like every one I've heard from you is something unique.
Like people be like, dog, it's crazy that he lets you call him gay. And I'm like, bro, he's not gay.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, it's just, I can make you believe it because of how he looked. Like, I can make people believe that you have a protein powder fetish.
It's so good. Like, I'm honestly laughing at it because it's like, you've taken something, like, you're not just going, you drink a bunch of protein.
Right.
The idea of a protein powder fetish, like immediately you are painting a picture because it's like, I'm gonna go home and fuck a jar of protein, and cover myself in it, and it creates a whole new movie in your head of what I'm doing.
Exactly.
That's beyond an insult. It's an observation that is like visual insults that you could kind of allow your mind to have over and over again.
I really like animals when I'm roasting people.
Yeah.
I really like animals because like so many humans look like animals, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the movie, like, because I used to read the books Animorphs when I was a kid. And, like, you see the people transition from a human to a certain type of animal. You're like, damn, this motherfucker do look like...
Right, yeah. And it's also, it's a great way to, like, because you do need to use hyperbole and exaggeration a little bit, but like there has to be truth to it, right? And that's one thing where people will come at me on my page and they'll be like, "You're 58," and I'm like, "But I'm not."
Right.
Like you can call me old, but it's like, am I also 18? Because that's 20 years the opposite way. So, or people will like try to roast me where the foundation isn't some truth. You can exaggerate a truth, but if you're starting with bullshit that's not true, that nobody, like if you're saying you look like a rat and I don't look like a rat, it's not gonna land.
And it's also about your energy, bro. Like when people come off roasting from like a hateful space, it's not gonna work.
Right.
It's like, bro, you're being an asshole. Now I want to fight you.
Right. Because that's the thing. Meeting you, I was almost prepared to be like, oh, David's probably gonna be a dick.
Right.
But you're the opposite of that. Like your energy is very calm. I don't even know if I've seen you get angry.
I don't really get angry.
No. Right. So that's, I think you also come across as like calm and confident.
Right.
And not like entitled. Because some people will like, they'll roast people when it's like the barista didn't make their drink and it's like, you motherfucker, you know, it's like, it's funny to see them go off, but like, you don't go off on people. And when you engage in roasting with Tony, for example, when he hits you, you laugh at it.
Exactly.
Right? You're detached from it. And I think that's a great point that like, you can't be taking it too personally or come from a hateful space because it's a different energy from the roaster.
Energy. And the audience will know it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're just like, you know, belittling somebody.
Right.
You know, like the audience knows that. So it's like you want to always have whoever you're trying to market your jokes to be on your side. You don't want them to be like, oh, he's fucked up. Like he's just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of situations like I'll see, for example,
people in comments, bro. It's like when I see a good joke in my comments, I'll laugh at it. I'll like it. I might even pin it.
Right.
But if it's like you just being an asshole, I'm probably gonna delete you.
Right. No, that is true. And somebody the other day was like, made a decent one that was like, you look like if this person, like if Arnold Schwarzenegger went to get a sex change. It's like, I forget what it was specifically. I was like, you put some effort into crowd. It wasn't like a 10 out of 10, but I was like, I'll give you like a 7. Like I'll pin that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Versus people who's like, you're a steroid freak. You look like fucking Caitlyn Jenner and you're stupid and you're ugly. And it's like,
they should have said you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger's side baby. You know,
right? Something like that would be clever, right? It's like, you know, mixed with this, but the moment somebody seems angry, it loses all its power to me. And you probably feel the same way because you said you grew up and you were like, oh, I went to these 2 different schools. We were like, oh, when you went to the white school, people make fun of you. Like, no, in my neighborhood, they were making fun of it. Yeah, the white kids were nice.
Yeah, white kids were nice.
But so you kind of grew up with this like. You had to respond and defend yourself, and that's how you got your reps in for this. Because now it's like people could go home and write their shit, but like it's literally a love language, as you said, because like you can think of it in the moment.
Yeah, where I'm from, you got to know how to roast and fight because, like, bro, you start roasting people where I'm from, and you hit them too good, and too many people start laughing.
Yeah,
get angry.
So that's probably something you dealt with, right? Is like, and that's also another key is like, if you are engaged in a battle, so to speak, especially on the street, like. The goal is to sort of provoke somebody to the point they can't even use their words anymore.
I try not to just, unless you like talking at my show, like somebody on the street, like, bro, it happens all the time, bro. Like, I'm at the grocery store and these little kids that watch like the roast me or the kill Tony, or some people even know me from when I was a teenager and I was on Your Mama and they'll pull out their phone, they be like, let's go right now. I'm like, dog. Like,
right. Yeah. That's a weird, it's like, I'm not in that mood and I don't want to do that because that's another great point that I see you do this at your shows. Like you're one of the, I think people consider you like, you know, who's in the conversation, the best roaster, whatever, in the region or the country, whatever.
They say I'm taking Jeff Ross' crown once he retires.
I think you're better because I went to a show and he hit me with some roasts. I'm like, man, David Lucas would have been like, it was just kind of, I'm like, you know, but I know he looked like he just woke up or something.
That's my dog. That's my dog, Jeff Ross.
I know it wasn't his best effort, but I was like, just comparing you obviously. And I'm like, David's originality is really up there. And also you use it at your shows. That isn't like, your act isn't to go out and roast people. You have amazing stand-up on its own, but you'll use it as a tool of control.
Absolutely.
Right?
If you get out of control, crowd control.
Yeah. So that's another element that makes it like, it's not mean. It's like, I have to do this in order to like quiet a crowd because you got Brennan and Chappelle coming up. Like you're doing a kind of service to like put the room in check.
And that's also like, bro, I started comedy in Atlanta. And dog, like, we used to get it, like, because I used to do, like, like I started in urban rooms, so I
Yeah.
started with like Bruce, you know what I'm saying, like Tyler Craig, Ernesto. These are like older comedians back that way. Doodoo Brown,
Yeah.
Chris Tucker's brother, Dexter Tucker, like
Yeah.
Food Stamp. So it's like unless you were already like solidified in their eyes,
Yeah.
they roast you before you go up.
Yeah, like an initiation.
And they roast
Yeah.
you when you get off stage, and they got the mic. No matter how good you do, they roasting the shit out of you. So it was like,
and so that's the other thing too, is like, this is what I always say to people. There's nothing you can tell me at this point that I haven't heard through playing football, through being in a fraternity, through being around guys like you. Like, the observations have been made. You can put an original spin on it, but like, if you're just coming at me to regurgitate something, like, so when I hear that, I go, nobody can tell you anything that these guys didn't already, like, the observations have been made. You can maybe put your own spin on it, but don't think like you can hurt David Lucas's feelings.
I think everybody needs to be roasted, bro.
Right. Because it gives you this self-awareness of like, this is how the world
everybody needs to be checked,
Yeah.
man. Everybody needs to be checked. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think we deal with a lot of problems in the world if they didn't have this anti-bullying campaign. Like, that makes kids soft.
Right. I always think about that. I'm like, the anti-bullying should be learn how to roast back. You can defeat the bully by embarrassing him.
Man.
But this idea that you're going to go tell on him is kind of a soft approach,
A
right?
bully's not going to fight you.
Right.
Most times. They're not going to fight you.
Yeah. And a bully's already insecure, so he's more susceptible to being roasted. So you would, if you had a campaign, it would teach the victims of bullying how to roast.
My daughter knows how to roast.
That's awesome.
She's 6.
You hear that? All right, we're going to end on that. Teach your kids how to roast.
Teach them.
Got David Lucas here. Thank you for coming in. And his 6-year-old is going to roast you, so don't even fucking try it. We out. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, bro.
All right, we got another hater of the week for you. You know, I get a lot of haters each week, but again, unless I have some sort of angle into it, a lot of it's so generic and repetitive and boring that it's not even worth bringing up. So if you guys want to be hater of the week, you either have to be really clever or really stupid. And this just happens to be one that's really stupid. Ooh. So a guy named Deft Eye came onto my page the other day and said, laugh my ass off. The logo spins in like a shitty Flash animation from 20 years ago, just so janky and low budget looking. Hope he didn't pay anyone for this logo, and that's Set Design. This whole logo, set, podcast name, and even the content is also painfully generic, all caps. You really think you have original content people want to see? Or are you just trying to cash in on your 6 degrees to Joe Rogan? I responded, did you watch an entire episode or just one of the reels? Because he's commenting on a reel, you know. And he says, no idea what that means. You have no idea what that means? Did you watch a fucking episode or not, idiot? Oh, God. I clicked on your stupid thumbnail and had it on mute, but still saw the boring generic ads, reclaimed wood set with the little wooden letters on the wall, like in a teenage girl's room. Oh, are we not in a teenage girl's room? I thought that was the whole idea. Make it like a teenage girl's room. Also, that logo is fucking pathetic, bro. Just calling it like I see it. Oh, you're so edgy. So generic, it's bordering on self-parody. Now, that's fine if you have that opinion. However, I didn't design the set. I happen to really like the set. I happen to like the logo. I like everything about this show that other people have done for me with some of my feedback. But when you're coming to hate on me and you want to get under my skin, you got to do something that's a little bit more personal to me. That's why I asked, have you watched an episode of the show? Because if you haven't, then I don't give a fuck what you think about anything, right? You can criticize anything you want if you've actually evaluated it. Tell me the podcast sucks. Tell me I'm boring. Tell me I'm stupid. Tell me I'm wrong about anything I've said about fitness. That's fine. We can have that discussion. But when you're already triggered enough to come to my page, and the only thing you can muster up a criticism about is the logo of the show that I have, that somebody else designed, ooh, you're gonna have to hold that L, okay? Here you go. This is the L for you not being clever enough or insightful enough to have anything resembling a criticism of the thing that I'm doing, which is making a podcast about fitness. So if you're already going, the logo sucks, it's like somebody whooping your ass in a football game and being like, but I don't like the color of your tweets. Cool. Does that change the score? Does that have any bearing on the game? Because you sound really emotional and like you were desperate to say something negative, but this is all you could figure out. So guys, if you're coming to my page, just first of all, know that you're already at a strategic disadvantage because I don't know who you are. You came to my page. You know who I am. And you left multiple comments criticizing something that I don't have any personal attachment to. I like it, but criticize the words that are coming out of my mouth. Try that. That is a shot that you have. It's probably still not going to hurt me in any way, because a guy like this is going to lack the cleverness to actually break down anything that I'm saying or make fun of it in a clever enough manner that it would hurt my feelings. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying, judging by your initial approach, I can tell where you're coming from. And now this guy happens to also be coming back to my page every single day after, I shut him down. It was like, hey, yeah, are you done yet? Because that's all you have to say is that you don't like my logo. Cool. He's come back like 4 days in a row. And that's always the funny part is like, you're coming to my page, tell me I suck. And then I'll be like, cool. Anything else? And you're like, yeah, that's why you're so triggered and you suck and you're mad. Am I? Am I though? Because yesterday was the 4th day in a row that you came to leave a comment on my page. You don't follow me, so you had to go in and type in, hello, Mark Harley. Go to my page, type out a comment, hit send. Oh, it's an L. It's so many L's. Every time you do it, it's an L, and your arms are getting tired from holding all the L's. But you know what? I still love you, and I'm so glad that you can validate the thesis of this entire podcast, which is haters are stupid. Thank you, Deft Eye. Your hate of the week. Guys, here we are at the end of another incredible episode, if I don't say so myself. I appreciate every single one of you who's watching and watching all the way through to the end. Seriously, I'm grateful for it. If you haven't hit the subscribe button or liked or left a comment, I'd appreciate that. Okay, what's that? You'll do it if I take my shirt. Okay, guys. All right, here we go. One more time. Front lat spread, side chest. I'm out. Next time, we're doing the lower body. Fuck it. The ding-a-ling is coming out. The ding-a-ling's coming out, and it's coming for you. Are you ready? Well, then don't watch the podcast next time. But for everyone who wants to see the ding-a-ling, tune in next week. Episodes dropping every Tuesday. We getting it started by the power of Castle Hate Skull. I am Helen Mark Harley.